This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by BetterHelp, affordable online private counseling. Get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Smile, the makers of textexpander. Do more with just a few keystrokes. Visit smile.com/podcasts to see what it can do for you. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is part 2 in a 2-part panel discussion, MacVoices live panel discussion, about where our panelists hang out online and why. In the first part, we discussed some of the basics, went around the table and found out where folks prefer to hang out, and discovered that social media isn't the only place that you can get obsessed online with in both a good and maybe not so good way. This time, we continue part of that discussion and get into a protracted discussion about Slack. So let's go right back to the panel.
Well, I think for me though, it's habit. Like by far, where I spend the most time is various Slacks, and I think it's because when I got started on the internet in IRC was it.
I remember that year.
That was a good year. IRC was where you hung out with other people, and it was one of the first things I saw that really showed me myself the power of the internet. Because if I couldn't sleep and I got up very, very late and I went on IRC and I went to Undernet, a nice little Undernet server, and I went and hung out in the Star Wars channel. Shocker, I know. I could talk to people on the other side of the world where it was daytime, and that had never been possible before. And especially, like I tell you guys this stuff all the time, like I am from the wilderness. Like I lived on a road that wasn't paved in a town that had no traffic lights. You know, like I grew up in the wilderness. So the power of a computer to help me talk to people in Australia and in Europe and in Japan, like, was mind blowing. Like I really felt like this was going to be a fundamentally, they all had stupid names, guy, and I knew the people they were named after, is what I'm saying. Yes, like there was a street not far from me that was named after my friend, because they started calling it that when she was born. And so, yes, honest. So the thing about IRC I always really liked was it was just this, you checked in, you read what you read while you were there. As it scrolled by, you talked to other people, and then you got out again when you were done. And like, if it was happening while you were gone, you just missed it. So I think that skill of like, I'm in front of the fire hose right now, but now I'm leaving. I think that is part of how I can deal with Twitter, because I can turn it off and walk away and just know that I'm missing out until I come back. But also, it's what makes Slack really appealing, is like it's IRC, but with the scroll back if I really want it. So.
It almost sounds like the old AOL chat rooms.
Oh boy.
It doesn't, because I don't get as many people on the prowl whose attention I receive as I did on AOL. That was not
what I meant, but okay.
But that's the biggest comparison I have. Your mileage may vary.
So let me welcome Brittany Smith here. She's a little late, but that still doesn't mean that we are not happy to have her. Brittany, thank you for being here.
Thanks.
So we're talking
Brittany,
about...
are you feeling better?
I got cured.
What was it?
I had
I told you guys earlier,
fever.
Brittany wasn't feeling
and it found a cure.
You opened the box.
No.
We just got suckered.
This is her own. This isn't the one in the closet.
I can't remember if it was during the record or after last week, but I said if they were going to charge me more than $300 to change the battery out of my computer, then I had to get a new one. And it was a lot more than that.
Ooh, okay, so tell us what you got.
I got
the cure for M1 fever. Keep up, Chuck.
I got a For Now machine. So that means the only upgrade was storage. It's an Air, only 8 gigs of RAM like a caveman.
It's plenty.
We don't know.
Temporary.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah,
a
yeah.
caveman,
Graham is a different beast now.
Yeah, it's a different beast.
Very interesting cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're
it's a cave
feeling
with
better.
Wi-Fi.
I'm glad
come on.
that you were cured. But
Don't
no,
be Wi-Fi forward in cave.
By the way, the amount of planning that went into this, because I texted Brittany earlier today. Brittany, I have an idea. Are you in with this? So
yeah. See, they're plotting against me again.
I lost
Assume we never
control
stopped.
again.
you
Yeah,
said,
that's true. You never
again?
stopped. Yeah. So, Brittany, we're talking about where we all hang out online, and with you doing a lot of professional things online, where do you find that you want to hang out for business or otherwise?
Online.
Yeah, like on the computer.
Just teasing.
Coffee cans on a string.
What do you mean, like social media or?
No, that it could be, or it could be something different.
I don't.
I mean,
I try not to spend a lot of time online, to be honest. Other than Zoom, where I permanently live.
So Brittany wins at tonight's topic, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm on anything, it's Twitter, but it's not a ton. I listen to podcasts, so I don't have to read my news online. And really anything that keeps me from getting sucked in and not be able to get out, I try to avoid those things.
Yeah. Okay. Here. I agree.
Andrew, you put in the little private chat we have here, MSN chat.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so that was actually one of my first experiences with online socialness was chat rooms. It wasn't IRC, but it was my first experience was this game website where they had all these cool games, but also they had chat rooms. So I was like 12, I think. So I kind of explored that a little bit. And then once I got into middle school, everyone was exchanging email addresses and telling me to like visit them and chat them up on MSN. So that was the thing back then.
Wow. Does anybody, I hate to do this, but I'll do it. Does anybody on CompuServe, the CompuServe message boards?
Mm-hmm.
I was.
Did you say that in present tense or past tense? I'm so confused.
Well, it's past.
It's
okay.
Past.
That wasn't what I heard.
Back in the Bush 41
administration. It was Roosevelt, wasn't it?
I think it was farther back than that, Mark. I don't know.
It was Eisenhower.
91,
I was the only thing we have to fear is the internet itself.
Is dial-up service.
I was on Prodigy's chat too.
Yeah, Prodigy.
Oh, I remember Prodigy.
My first modem, 2400 baud modem, was free from Sears if you signed up for Prodigy.
Yep.
Wow.
Because I owned it.
2400.
Yeah. Oh.
I had a 300. That's why I'm impressed.
But if you think back to those days, and of course the discussions about Apple's founders are legendary, but there were a lot
Andrew, you
of,
can go get a snack.
No, because there's history here, but it's interesting that it's the same thing but different. Back then, it was of course those big services, but it was all the local bulletin boards. I mean, Dave and John, I think from MacGeek met on one of the bulletin boards.
Yep.
Yeah, on a local BBS. Yeah.
And so now we have a whole different situation where the bulletin boards have grown up and added a lot more features, but it's still people connecting with people. Kelly, your point was really interesting. It was not only people connecting locally, but people connecting across the globe, around the world in a way that was just, I never had a pen pal as a kid, but I know people that did, and that was a big thing. And now that seems, wasn't that quaint? You wrote letters to each other, to people you didn't know, and waited 6 months for a reply. Yeah. So I think it's interesting. Kelly, you intrigue me though with the Slack, because Slack is not. I don't consider Slack social media. I consider Slack something that is specifically set up by someone for a specific purpose. And
I didn't think about Slack. That's a good
too.
But you said Hangout when I asked. You didn't say social media.
Well, but see, I don't. That's it. I just said I don't.
Slack.
I don't consider Slack social media.
Yeah,
it's just like I don't consider
and Discord.
Reddit.
Discord has a
actually.
Discord
I'm
is
in
another
Discord
one.
a fair amount.
Yeah, but I don't consider
Discord's another.
Are those
Well,
social
see,
media?
they're. I don't know that they're social media as much as they're like in some cases very much a BBS, right? Like, so I'm in a Slack that's a Portland one that's like people that are local here. I'm in one that is Incomparable, the Incomparable podcasters. I'm in the member Slack for the Incomparable. Mac Observer does all of our internal communication through Slack. We have Slack channels for different things. We have let me go look at my list. Don Melton has a video transcoding Slack. So I hang out in that one mostly for entertainment. And I accidentally learn things in there on the regular because I don't really know anything about video transcoding. But he reeled me in to go talk to the people there as we spun Westworld theories when the show was on the air. So I do that. And like I'm in Matthew Casanelli's workflow Slack with two people here. Talking about like automation and shortcuts and things. And so like there's a social aspect to that, but also the knowledge piece of it. Like, because I can go in there and I can go, this is the thing that I'm trying to do. And somebody there may have a creative solution to help me do it. So and particularly this year, I've gotten a lot of the social piece of what I like, like interacting with people, talking with people, whatever. I've gotten that through, all these little icons in the sidebar on my Slack app, because I can talk to different groups of people. So if I want to know what's going on in Portland, I go to that local Slack. If, when I want to talk to the Incomparable folks about things, I go over there and talk to them about things. And, there's different ones for different purposes. So like I get a lot of social interaction there as well.
That's a lot of time too.
And it's another, I can walk in, look at as much as I want to look at, and then leave. And like I said, I learned that skill from IRC. Like once it scrolls off, it's gone forever and you're done, But
listen to what Kelly said. She goes to specific places for specific purposes. And that's one place that I find social media, the big social media, to be the challenge. Is it's constantly trying to distract me. Well, the time suck, but it's constantly trying to distract me or put stuff in front of my face that I really don't want or wasn't looking for, and then it does turn into a time suck.
Can I preach the gospel of filters?
Yeah, but unfortunately,
it's a moving target, though.
Yeah, there's
so many good general ones.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, it helps. It helps, but I find that's my biggest challenge. Is trying to make good use of time. I love what Mark said, because I do the same thing. I spend probably more time in my RSS readers than anything.
Me too.
Because I've already picked out my credible sources, and then I can go through and by doing that, I've curated at one level. Now I'm down to another level to pick what I want to really read and pay attention to.
Yeah. I mean, I think in a way that is kind of similar to how some people like Kelly use Slack and Discord. I think the biggest distinction, because I'm kind of like you, Chuck, I didn't really think of Slack as social media either, but it's like it is, but it's a different kind of social media. And I think it is kind of like the RSS approach, where there are platforms where it's many to one, and then there are platforms like RSS where it's one to many, where it just depends on, are you choosing to follow certain groups, or is it just a blast of everyone all at once and it's kind of chaotic?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that there's an answer here. It's something that we've talked about social media on the show before, but never exactly from this angle. And I'm really intrigued that each one of you seem to be giving some thought to it. There are places you specifically avoid, and some of you gave very specific reasons as to why you avoided it. But the problem is when you're trying to reach someone, and that's, I mean, I've drawn both criticism and compliments for the fact that I post the MacVoices announcement so many places. And my theory is, if I want you to know about the show, I've got to go where you are. Instead of trying to pull you to my website, or I mean, eventually you're going to come to my website, but I've got to go and let you know about it where you are. So if you're on LinkedIn, great. If you're on Instagram, great. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, fine. Nobody mentioned Mastodon, and I'm not sure how popular that is. I know there are people that swear by it. Anybody else?
Or
Is
at
anybody?
I swear at it, and so I quit very early on. Yeah, basically, because everything was a different instance. I swear at it, not by it.
Swear at it. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it just got really frustrating because I couldn't just be like, if I go on Twitter, I'm me, and wherever you are in the world and whatever app you use and whatever, when you look at Twitter and you see what I have to say, that's what you see. And with Mastodon, it was like federated instances sound great, but like it's got really complicated, and there wasn't a good way to sort of have the same profile across a bunch of instances, at least when I started trying to use it, and I couldn't figure it out, and I got frustrated and quit and went back to Twitter. So
ease of use is another interesting thing that you just brought up, Kelly. Because I agree with you on Mastodon. It is confusing, and I'm not sure that I'm getting enough mileage out of it to justify continuing to be there. So.
So I have a question for the group.
Yep.
It's maybe an inverse question, of your, the one you opened with, Chuck. And I guess you talked about, hang out online. It was, which I think is broader than social media, which is why Kelly mentioned Slack. But in terms of many of these sites, how many people go there for either for recreation, or let me ask, why is the reason you go there?
I go to meet up with friends that I don't see otherwise around the world and stuff like that.
Okay.
So.
I'm pleased to welcome BetterHelp as a sponsor of MacVoices, affordable online private counseling. There have been lots of jokes about the challenging year that is 2020, but often those jokes are rooted in real-world challenges and anxieties. Everything from employment to personal relationships have been put to the test this year. Sometimes you just need a little help, and maybe sometimes you need more than just a little. That's why I want to tell you about BetterHelp, and that's BetterHelp. Because that's what they do. Online, private, professional counseling. Not self-help or self-improvement, but counseling that can help you deal with whatever challenges you are feeling. Maybe you just want to talk on the phone, or maybe you want a full face-to-virtual-face session with your counselor. BetterHelp doesn't do it their way, they do it your way, so that you are comfortable with your choice and get the most out of each session. Depression, anxiety, sleeping problems, family conflicts, BetterHelp can assist you in dealing with those or anything else that you need help with. You can start living a happier life today. As a MacVoices listener or viewer, you will get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/MacVoices. Over 1 million people have taken charge of their mental health. You can too by visiting betterhelp.com/MacVoices. Again, that's betterhelp, HELP.com/MacVoices. Welcome and thank you to BetterHelp as a sponsor of MacVoices. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by TextExpander by Smile. Do more with just a few keystrokes with TextExpander. With so many of us working from home now, we're having to do lots of things just a little bit differently. That can be good, it can be a challenge, sometimes both at once. That means taking a look at how we're doing things and trying to be more efficient and more consistent. And that's why TextExpander from Smile is at the top of my list when I need to try to figure out how to do something just a little bit better. TextExpander can help me do a whole lot of things with just a few keystrokes. Maybe it's as simple as putting in a mailing address by typing in 3 or 4 characters. Maybe it can be as untime-consuming as putting in regularly used details into an email, a Slack message, or a Teams message. Again, just a few keystrokes can drop in paragraphs of information. Even better, though, is that whatever information we're talking about, it's always the same, always correct every single time, so that I'm not only saving time, I'm being sure that it's right. That's important for me as an individual, but it can be critical if you're managing a team and want or need that kind of consistency each and every time. I can't stress enough how much I want you to visit smilesoftware.com/podcasts right now. Find out more about what TextExpander can do, and then download a free demo to see for yourself. Smilesoftware.com/podcasts, and start making your workflows more efficient today. Thanks to Smile for their ongoing support of MacVoices.
I do think that's a good question. I guess the reason why I didn't really think of Slack as social media is just because 99% I'm just using it for the Mac Observer. That's where we have all our internal communications, like Kelly said. I am in that other Slack group with the shortcuts. I'm not in there a whole lot, which is kind of weird because I use shortcuts a lot.
You have a lot of shortcuts. I figured you'd be there more. Yeah.
Yeah. But Reddit for me is probably more recreational.
Mm-hmm.
And then Twitter is kind of a mix, I feel, between recreational and here are like some other professionals that I'm interested in and I want to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Brittany? Why do you
On
go
the
to
why?
wherever you go? Yeah.
The Slack, it's mostly the shortcut Slack that I go to. Although there's also one of the committees I'm on, theoretically uses Slack. And one of the reasons I like that, and then I also have a group on Discord that I'm the leader of. But what I like about those is they're not fire hoses. There's only so many people on them. So there's also a time when the messages end.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really can't be a rabbit hole. But I also these are subjects I'm interested in. Like, I want to hear other people talking about shortcuts. Also, searching for help with shortcuts on the web blows. And going there, there might even be somebody else who asked the question and you can search and you can ask a question. And there's some places you can find information, but at the level of shortcuts I'm at, it's hard to find help when I have a problem. So I go there for that. And, Twitter, it's connecting with nerds on my main account because that's the thing I enjoy. And my other one, it's, talking about ADHD and productivity stuff.
So the shortcut Slack that you guys are talking so much about, is that open to anyone, or is that an invitation thing, or how does that work?
I think you have to be invited, but I think the bar is very low.
Yeah. Matt runs it. Castiglione.
Yeah, I think you have to go to his website or something, and there's an invitation there or something like that. It's not particularly secret or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I can use Slack fairly effectively, but I can't say that I usually have ended up in groups where I've been invited, or that I know that they're there, as opposed to just saying, "Hey, I'm going to go and try to find a Star Trek Slack." I'm sure they're out there, but I've never Googled Star Trek Slack, and so I have no idea if there's a way to get in publicly or not.
Right.
Are you a Star Trek fan there, Chuck?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
I got invitation. I got invited to all of these, but it was a real life situation. I use Slack over my day job, so I'm in that Slack. And then the other ones are all ones that I've been invited to in some form or another for whatever reason it might be. But that I go to different places for different things. It's not social media, but I hang out in my newsreader a lot. I use NetNewsWire, and I spend a lot of time there to sort of wade through the fire hose of news every day, because it's just more convenient. If I go in one place and read all 10 of the websites or whatever, I can see all the things, and now I know, and now I'm up to speed. And and then I'm prepped for the day or whatever it is. And so the Slacks that I'm in for recreational purposes, I like hanging out in those for different reasons. And they're right there in the sidebar. I can switch very easily between them. So it's not it's hard to go, okay, well, nobody's really talking over here. I'm going to move to this one and see what I missed out on, while I was away or whatever. And it makes it easy to do that. And that's part of why I was concerned. We talked a little bit earlier about Salesforce buying Slack. That's why I'm concerned about it, because Slack is a very easy thing right now to spin up for free, and the overhead on that is very small. You fill out the form on their website, and here's what I want it to be, and here's what I want it to look like, and you're done. And now you have a Slack. It's like a Discord server. It's the same sort of thing. If you have the patience to fill out all of the places in the form where you have to fill out a thing, then you're good. So that's the part that I sort of like about it, is the democratizing of putting these communities together. And Chuck, if you wanted to spin up a MacVoices Slack, like, it'd take you about 15 minutes and it would be great. And you could have a channel in there for people who want to talk about specifically Mac stuff. You can have a channel for people who just want to talk about their phones, for people who want to talk about their Newtons, for people who need tech support. Like, you could I have a Newton right over there, which is why that's what came to mind. I just looked over and there was my Newton staring at me. So that's the other nice thing about Slack, is that you get all the little channels for different stuff. So, if you want to spin up a Star Trek channel so that you have one, then cool. Let's all talk about Star Trek over here. Or maybe it's a channel about just general TV stuff that you want to talk, that anybody who wants to talk about a TV show can talk about it over here. And it's really just the community of people that you get to talk about those things with. And that's part of what I like about it.
But the reason I think I haven't done that, Kelly, is, first of all, there's so many other competing things out there. And for me to ask the audience to come over and give their time in something that is just for MacVoices, part of me says that sounds very ego-driven. Part of me says it sounds very appealing, because it's very specific, and it will be, as much as I can possibly make it, low noise, high content. Mm-hmm. But there's also the fact that, you still got to manage it. You still have to participate and be there in it. But
if other people participate, like, for example, like, you spin it up and you are like, supreme ruler of the MacVoices Slack, but like, David hangs out in there sometimes, I hang out in there sometimes, Frank hangs out in there sometimes. And so you can delegate some of that. So, like, worst case, if there needs to be a band hammer, like, there's someone there to swing it, like, it can be that simple. Like, that's one of the other nice things about it, is, like, only invite people are cool.
Oh yeah. But see, then it's, and I'm not talking down Slack, by the way. I'm expressing, I guess, my thinking when it started up.
You're keeping me from enabling you to spin up a MacVoices Slack. I know what you're doing, and it's fine.
No, because I have something set up. I've just never really brought it out into the public, because I thought about it, and it's like, still working on it, still trying to figure out what value it adds.
Time is a factor as well.
Yes,
you have
that too.
Because you're pretty much, you're a one-man show, right, Chuck?
Sure.
For MacVoices?
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing with me, with all the podcasts that I do. I don't have a support staff. So I set up automation so that when I put something on YouTube, it goes over to vertshark.com, or it goes over to the VertShark page on Facebook or on Twitter or any of those places there, as best I can, without having to spend a lot of money. So with this plethora of social media sites, and not even necessarily social media sites, but alternatives to getting your content out there, or letting people know that your content is out there, it can take a lot of time to set those things up, especially if you're a one-man show. So I don't think it's a question of the will to do it. I think it's just a question of, well, this is yet another thing that I have to manage.
Right.
Yeah. And
it is.
And to Chuck's point earlier, mentioning moderating comments until you finally just turn them off on the website, I'm not sure if Slack has moderated tools like that or not. So that's kind of another hurdle.
Can eject
they do.
people.
I think you kick somebody out. You warn them, and then they have to leave.
But but then it's still something else that you have to moderate. It is.
Sure.
It's not something that you can just say, okay, I'm going to put links to the latest MacVoices over in the MacVoices Slack, and then your job is done. There's more to it than that. And it's the nice thing about something like Facebook is when you set up your page or your group or however you want to say, you want to call it, you can figure out a way to say, okay, I don't want any comments in here. I just want the stuff that I want people to see in posts or whatever to show up, and then it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to moderate it because it's self-moderated. And it's the same thing with like my WordPress site for VertShark. All commenting people can comment, but it won't show up on the site until I have the time to go in and go through all of the fake Viagra and gambling sites and all the rest of the garbage that comes in. Once people understand, ooh, look, there's some place I can go to put a link to my crap. Okay, well, you can put all the crap in there that you want. I just go click, 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 and it's gone. It never shows up on the site.
But the amount of time it takes for those clicks is ridiculous because, unfortunately, you're not just fighting people putting links to their crap. You're fighting the bots. And you're going to lose every time. And
but you see, I'm not fighting them because they've already lost. It takes me, typically when I'm in the admin section of because it's vertshark.com is relatively automated. I by the time I edit all my stuff and I get it up over to the Guys Daily Drive audio feed in Podbean or over there on the VertShark. God, I'm losing my mind.
How do you spell that, Guy? How do you spell it?
What, VertShark?
Yes, VRTSHARK.
Yeah, VERTSHARK.
Oh,
and
VertShark.
VertShark. Anything that I put on my Podbean site for audio or anything I put up over in YouTube for video is automatically posted on vertshark.com. And I basically just go in there, click a couple of buttons, and it gets cross-posted to Facebook and Twitter and wherever else I want it to go.
Okay.
And guys, I can't believe it. We're past time. This has been a great. No. This has been a great discussion.
And you kept control this time too.
See, we can have an intelligent discussion without you guys going out of your minds.
Yes, we can, Chuck.
Yes, thanks, Guy. Hey, let's go around. And let people know where they can find you with however you want to be found, because that's sort of been our focus here. So, and again, I'll just go around the room the way it's on my screen. David.
In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. And you can see me here. And on Wednesday nights, I'm on Mac to the Future Go. With Guy and Warren. And we have a great live cast on that. And occasional appearances on the Mac Show with the British Tech Network, and and Twitter, Dave G65.
Great, thanks for being here, David. Good discussion.
Yes,
Frank.
I'm matter of fact, it just came out today. The December issue of Screencasts Online. Got a review in there. I've got my website, ympnow.com, and any social thing you can usually find me at F Petrie.
Excellent. Thanks for being here, Frank.
Oh, I wish I had been here longer.
Hey, just the fact that you show up is much appreciated. Kelly, in Deep Space.
Okay. You can find me 5 days a week over at the Mac Observer, where I host the Daily Observations podcast. You can occasionally find me over at The Incomparable, where I have a show called Greetings from the Uncanny Valley that shows up in the TV feed. But you can hear me there talking about other things as well. Generally Star Wars, but you never know. You can also find me on Twitter as Verso, and you can find me over at The After Show, which is a show that I host with Mike Rose, where we sort of goof off for half an hour and make each other laugh. And you can find that over at aftershowpodcast.com. The rest of the time, I'm on Twitter as Verso.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. Guy, Mr. VertShark himself.
Vertshark.com is the website. There's also the VertShark feed over on YouTube. Just look up VertShark on YouTube. All the videos will show up there to watch if that's your thing. I do the mymac.com podcast almost every single week with Gazmaz, and of course the aforementioned Mac to the Future Go live cast with Warren and Dave on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's see what else. I'm VertShark and Mac Parrot over there on the Twitters. And I do, on occasion, though, it's been quite a bit lately, Guy's Daily Drive, where I'm in a Kia Soul talking about general stuff. It's fun.
Great. Thanks for being here, Guy. Be safe out there.
Driving
Andrew.
is job one, Chuck.
I think you stole that from somebody.
No.
Andrew, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I usually just tell people to follow me on Twitter. I'm at Andrew or Not. You can find all of my writing over at the Mac Observer. And most every Friday, I do a podcast with Kelly. It's Security Friday. And so we try to tell people all about like security news that happened that week, but also try to give people practical tips to maybe defend themselves against some of that crazy stuff.
The Friday edition of the Daily Observations podcast. On Fridays, we talk about the latest security news and try to give you some actual thing that you can do to help not be part of the security news that we tell you about on Security Friday.
Well said. Well said.
Don't get
Tag
caught.
team.
Thanks, Andrew. I will be mining your comments for other show ideas. So,
Okay.
thank you. Mark, how about you?
I just want to, add a little bit more to my introduction that, for people who don't know, Gene Amdahl, I mentioned, that this was one of his, a computer he created way back when for his doctoral thesis. He spent many years at IBM. He was the father of the IBM 360 line of computers that continue to this day. He moved from New York. He was significant in creating the IBM semiconductor division out here in the Valley. He was an entrepreneur. He went on to found Amdahl Corporation, which invented the plug-compatible industry, which informed and inspired a compact computer to do the same things for PCs. So, he's quite an innovator with quite a lot of impact. I urge everyone go check Wikipedia or other places if you want to learn more about Gene Amdahl. Place to find me, if it's not under the bridge by 7th Street, it is probably the best place is Twitter. MARKFUCCIO at Twitter. Thank you, and back to you, Chuck.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Last but not least, Ms. Brittany Smith. Brittany, thank you for showing up and sharing your wisdom.
Once I'd recovered from my fever, you mean?
Yes, exactly.
Apple fever.
Happy to be here.
One fever. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me. On Twitter, I'm ADD Liberator, and my website is conquer.consulting, where I help people get their work done.
Great. Thanks so much. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices Live. And I'll tell you, there's one other place that I'm hanging out a little bit. And so I'll do a promo for that. Frank and I both do, is weekdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
East Coast.
Yeah, 6:30 East Coast, 3:30 West Coast. We hang out on YouTube with Ken Ray and macOS Ken Live. It's only about half an hour, 35 minutes, but it's an interesting show, and it's the crowd is growing. So come and check it out.
YouTube.com/Ken Ray. Thank
you, Frank. That's perfect. We do this every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Mac Voices Live, and we would love to have you come back. Join us in the Slack room if you dare with this bunch of commentators.
Do you mean the Facebook group, Chuck?
No, I mean this group.
Okay, because you said join us in the Slack group, and I wasn't sure that was what you meant to say. Yeah.
No, you're right. Join us in the Zoom room on Facebook.
There will be a Slack group.
Just show up here.
Push.
I'm losing control. I'm stopping. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.
See, guys, you can actually have a serious conversation.
That was good.
It's not like we can't. We just don't always want to.
I feel like you losing control is not my fault, but I can't help but notice when I was really late, you had control.
Yeah.
But I'm not the one who wrestles it from you.
No, it's usually me.
I think, but there's a
Sometimes
dynamic
Jack.
that happens between Brittany and Kelly that just
Magic.
second
You can
half
use
of
the
the
word
show.
magic. It's okay,
The word
Chuck.
is magical. Yeah.
is yeah. Well, that's one word for it.